Ready? All right. Good evening and welcome to the April 8th, 2024 Tualatin City Council work session. We have three items on our agenda tonight. Our first item on our agenda is the Parks Bond Projects Update led by Rich Mueller. Welcome, Rich. And Kira. Welcome, Kira.
Good evening, Mayor and Councilors. I'm Rich Mueller, Parks Planning and Development Manager, and joining me this evening is Kara Hine, Project Manager. We're going to present you with a brief overview of the bond progress and status. I'm going to provide some general overall information, and then Kara is going to get into the project-specific details. As you remember, voter approved bond in November 2022, and these were the bond categories, the project categories that in emphasis was placed on: trail connections, new riverfront access, athletic fields, upgrades, natural areas, and play equipment. And we're pleased to date, which we've just started spending bond money in May of 2023. By the end of this fiscal year, $5 million worth of bond money will be out there in the community, improving the parks and recreation facilities and amenities. We just want to quickly show how the bond projects align with the 2030 Council vision and priorities. It was important for the bond projects, and this also includes grant-funded projects and utility fee projects. It was important that they serve the entire community, and you can see employment, residential, geographically the projects are spread out through the entire community to serve all community members. We took a phased approach, and a little more than 50% of the bonds were sold in phase one, and that included some planning and development for larger projects and small project construction. And you can see the main projects that are being worked on. Phase two begins in 2026, and it will specifically be for the larger project construction that I'm now going to turn it over to Karen. She's going to share with you.
Our next slide shows some of the property that we've acquired with the bond. And so we have almost about 20 acres of new parkland that we've purchased. This just shows, oh no, there's no laser. So it's about, there is? I guess it doesn't work. So we have the acquired parkland right off of Boone's Ferry. That's across from SEPA and the Autumn Sunrise Housing Development. So it's two properties that total about 14 acres. And then obviously once we get to the point of, community engagement to see what people that eventually live across the street there want. But that is the plan as of right now, just property that is ours, purchased by the bond. And then that little triangle in the bottom left-hand corner off of Tonkin Road is about 3 acres of what we hope to have as a future trailhead. And so this may or may not include, some bathrooms, some picnic tables, maybe some shelters. But, that's up for the community to decide. But yes, a future trailhead, 3 acres right off of that road there. So another piece of property that we bought with the bond, again, another 3 acres, is behind the Pole Center. And so this is just a conceptual design. Anything you see here isn't set in stone. Obviously, again, once we get to the planning phase of this, we'll want community outreach as well. But this is just kind of gives you an idea of what potentially can be put there. And I think it's also a really beautiful picture of, the idea of community and what we eventually want to see out there. Planning for this will begin next winter, spring 2025-ish. So there's actually more updated pictures, but this is right there is the Veterans Plaza upgrades, kind of where that dirt clump is. On the right-hand side is where the reflection pool is going to be, along with the insignias, the American flags, and actually it's really all dug up now, so it doesn't look anything like this. And then you see that bottom well on the bottom left-hand side, which Julie Ludeman, who comes in after us, is going to present about the art. But that's essentially the same well with the rendering on top with, you know, what it's going to look like with the art piece that was chosen by the Arts Committee. We are, knock on wood, ahead of schedule to get this done by Pumpkin Regatta. But it's really exciting to see things out there, and we even have a banner up, or a few banners that show the renderings of each section of the plaza for people to look at. So Affolity Park, this has been done for a few months now, but I just really love the blue pour in place surfacing. We have an all-inclusive electronic play unit. We have finally covered picnic tables out there. But this is the 2 to 5 year old area, and I think it has a lot of bright colors. You know, it's kind of overcast there already, but I think it really stands out, and I think it's a really good color combination for out there. IBAC Park, so the 2 to 5 year old area, we have the new all-inclusive Weesaw in the top left corner. We have the blue pour in place, and then the new Boppity Bridge, which Rich and I have gone over a few times ourselves to test out, so we know it's a lot of fun. And then the boulder on the bottom right-hand corner is under construction in the preteen teen area, and so it's supposed to be done along with a few split logs and a few other features by the end of April. Jurgens Park is also complete. I think it got done about a month and a half ago. In both areas, the preteen and the youth area is complete. So we have new synthetic turf, the forest theme that was chosen by over 400 community members. We have, you know, you can't see it, but the far right-hand picture has a cool climbing wall for the little kids on one side. New slides, 2 new swings, but the colorings go really well with just the trees out there in that neighborhood. So Musco Lighting, so at TCP, the Tualatin Community Park, we installed energy efficient LED lights out there. And what's really great about this is that they can be controlled by an app or online scheduling. And so what's really great is someone, you know, on our team can just pull up the app. If someone needs lights on or off automatically, it's instantaneous, and then we can schedule out these lights weeks, months in advance, depending on who's out there. So Nybrook Creek Trail, this is another bond-funded trail. So it's between 65th Avenue and I-5. It's about 3/4 of a mile long. So again, it's a local trail, not a regional trail. Design, we actually have an RFP out that closed a few weeks ago, and so we're hopefully starting the design process later in the next month or so, with construction starting in 2025 or 26. But what's really great about this is that eventually with the park renewal funds and maybe a trail bond or a trail grant, I think later, that we do want to extend this trail out to go under I-5 as an eventual project. And also that little red square there, Las Casitas Park, I think is just a really good complement park just to have right there next to the trail for just safer access to and from, to really engage the community with these 2 new placements of projects. So just looking ahead relating to the bond, we have Julie and Ross meeting with the school districts just with that potential partnership. They're meeting regularly regarding that. Ross and I are meeting with the youth sports team starting next month, just to kind of gauge, like, where do you want this money? How do they want to, utilize it? We see it as backstop fencing upgrades, but there's also a lot of money specifically going to athletic fields, and we just want to make sure that what we are providing is truly what they want. So we're starting that next month. IBAC Park, just like I mentioned earlier, the preteen teen area is currently under construction and will be done this month. So that's exciting there. And then we have a few utility fee projects that are in the works right now. So Little Woodrose Trail, a trail renovation. We will be in design. Actually, we're in the construction document design phase right now with construction in 2025. And then Victoria Wood Staircase that needs some tender love and care is in the same phase as well with construction, hopefully starting later this summer. And then the Keokuk Bridge is what you see that photo there in the right-hand corner. And then we have the Parks and Recreation Facility Assessment that is currently underway. That's taking a look at all the facilities we have in our parks, what is safe to still be there, what can be utilized more, etc. So other projects that are in the works right now is Las Casitas Park. It's an ARPA-funded project. We're in the construction design phase with construction in 2025. We have the Basalt Creek Flag Lot, which is right across from the 14 acres of property that we acquired that I mentioned earlier. It's a linear park. We are in the construction document phase for that one as well. And then the grant projects, which is Rich's project, the 12th River Greenway Trail Extension behind Romer's Rest and River Ridge Apartments. That's about a half a mile, and that is a regional trail. So completion date is early summer for this one. Communications, we've been missing an office coordinator for a few months in our office, and so we just hired on. Her name's Bella. She's really lovely, and we're glad to have her on the team. And so with our staff member numbers back up to par, we have, the website updates will be more consistent, email blasts. We're in the city e-newsletters, social media. We'll make sure that, that is consistent as well. And then T-Park meetings and then city council meetings will be updated as well. Does anyone have any questions, comments?
Questions or comments? Council Brooks.
Well, first of all, thank you. It's an incredible amount of work, and it's a great start, and it's super exciting, and it's really great to hear you do a presentation. I haven't heard you give a presentation before, a big one like this, so that's great. I had two questions. My first question was about when you said that there is like an electronic play area at the Affolati Park. Can you tell me more about that? I don't know about that.
So it's all inclusive, and it's specifically for people who, or any age, have a difficult time hearing, or it's sensory, so when we're out there testing it, the little octagon sections make noises, and so it's more sensory, so it's more inclusive in the sense of what people can and can't do in a playground, so it just includes those people.
That's great. And then my other question was, and I'm not sure if this is for you, but I know a lot of people are concerned about upgrades for the restrooms at our parks, and I'm just curious if that is part of the facilities assessment, or if that's a separate piece, or if I'm way off track.
So, yeah, thank you. It's being assessed right now, and it is in utility fee future projects, not in next fiscal year's funding, but I believe the following fiscal year was a projection at this point in time. But they are being assessed, and there'll be recommendations.
Thank you very much.
Thank
That's
you.
all I got. Thank you.
Councilor Sacco.
Thank you for the presentation and all the work that is going into the bond projects. Very much appreciated. I just have a follow-up question on the looking ahead bond projects for the athletic fields. So I know that on the slide, it talks about school district partnerships. Within that, are we looking at just with partnerships as in sharing of fields, or is there any discussion or possibility of adding additional fields to our stock, I guess you could say?
I'm going to pass this one off to Rich and possibly Ross.
Okay, yeah. And so Ross and Julie have been meeting with the school district about a partnership. And what that looks like will come in the future. But some of the ideas are, the school district has a lot of land. They have a lot of fields. Some of their fields aren't in the best condition, so perhaps bond funds can improve those fields so the community is able to use them. And I think there's many ideas on expanding fields. They do have properties that are undeveloped, and there are ideas to fix up existing fields and doing some kind of partnership where the community gets use of those facilities during after-school hours, and the school uses them during school hours. Did that kind of answer? Yes. Okay.
Councilor Hilliard.
Thank you. Thank you for the great presentation. I look out my back window and I can see the little structure at Ibach Park, so I'm excited to have that done and watch the kids play on that. But as a person, I just want to speak to the lights at TCP, and as a person who used to have someone else hold me on the really sturdy ladder that went up to the lights and pray that I could get the key in the thing. And for years and years and years, I cannot say how excited I am that these lights are going to be handled in a different way. And I'm excited to maybe see that opportunity at some of our other fields that we do have, because I know how efficient this lighting is for a variety of reasons. So I hope that is something, I know it's big expense, but also that we're looking at. And I just want a quick question about confirmation that as you're meeting with the youth teams, that's kind of part of that conversation with the school district, right? Because many of those youth teams are the ones who are maintaining those fields on school district property. So the school district isn't paying for that at all. I mean, the youth teams are. And so I want to just confirm that they're going to get asked, where money is being spent, and understanding that school district partnership, because I do believe that there may be some confusion and some I'll leave it at confusion.
Yeah, and so thank you. That's why Kara and Ross are going to start this series of meetings with them, is to reduce any confusion or misunderstanding. And it's both for the field projects at schools and the field improvements at park facilities. And the youth sports will be engaged, they'll be asked, and I believe that's the direction you'll be taking.
Mm-hmm. Great, thank you. And hopefully safety will be the first line of conversation, because I know how unsafe some of those are. So thank you again for all your work.
Thank you.
Councilor Gonzalez.
Thank you very much. This is very exciting for our community to see all these projects, especially spread out throughout our city. Everybody's getting a bit of love. When it comes to sustainability in Juergens Park and looking at the synthetic parks, how are those going to be maintained? Because we do know that we have a lot of moss, a lot of different things that happen. And do you have a plan around the maintenance and care of these synthetics fields?
Yeah, and so one of the reasons we're trying this product is it has the longest warranty. It has a 15-year warranty. The pour in place is maybe 7-8 years. The wood fiber is a constant maintenance issue. And so there's tools they can put on their weed eaters to groom it, and it can be blown. It's got good safety impact. And so we think it'll be as sustainable or last longer than some of the other playground surface products. But again, time will tell, because this is a fairly new item to the playground surface, field.
Thank you for that. I guess I'm gonna just go a little deeper, and you may not have the answer right this minute, and we can follow up at a different time. So moss will develop on these synthetic grasses quite thick, you know, and I know this because I manage some of these for some of the HOAs, and that's a problem, a constant problem if it's not being kept up on an ongoing basis. So I'm sure our parks team will be dealing with that. But what kind of, there'll be chemicals that'll probably be used, maybe some citrus-based products to kill off the moss. Have you guys considered those? And again, I didn't prepare, I asked these questions before, so you can come back to me at a different time if you don't have a response for these things.
Yeah, thank you. And Ross can follow up with you, but it's my understanding it can be pressure washed. I'm not aware of any chemical applications, but that may follow, but we did not receive that information from manufacturer.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Council President Pratt.
Well, that dirt you showed being dug up at the Commons is kind of some of the most exciting mud I've ever seen. So it's going to be amazing to see the finished product. I had a question on the Nyberg Creek Trail. Where in the future, because now it's just going to dump on Sager, but in the future, where approximately are you planning to go under I-5? Sorry to throw you on the spot on that one.
Yeah, so the south end, and we have specific land
Okay.
rights under there. I haven't looked or been under there to see if that's boardwalk or what that is, but it'll be,
So would it end up on Martinezzi eventually after it went under? Which is cool, because then people could actually walk to Fred Meyer and stay off the main
right.
roads.
It would head to Martinezzi, and we have some of the land rights there, but there is one piece between I-5 and some city-owned property that we still need to get the
Oh, okay.
rights to develop the trail
Oh,
there.
that's great. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Kira or Rich? Okay, well, thank you.
Thanks so much.
All right. Next up, we have, as was preluded before, or a little teaser, the Veterans Plaza Service Inspired Art Update from Julie Ludeman. Welcome.
Well, hi there. Good evening, Mayor Bubenick and council. It's welcome to Parks and Rec Night. And I'm here to speak specifically on the Veterans Plaza, but not the overall project, the service-inspired art component of this project. So, this is a new remote. I'll go quickly over some of the process and past steps. Some of you might remember that this project discussion began way back in the before times in 2019. And that was when and over the course of these years, we've met with thousands of community members to understand the community's desire for this project and the components of it. And one of those components, of course, was some public art. So way back in 2019, we defined the core themes for the overall project. We did the site selection and ultimately decided on the Tualatin Commons Park, Lake of the Commons area. In August of 2022, you all adopted or accepted the plan and design report. And then in March of 2023, we began work on the service-inspired art selection. And that started with our committee that we had, which is the Arts Advisory Committee, plus 5 members of the Tualatin Veterans Community and a member of Tea Park. So we all met down at the lake and started doing some visioning and brought out a big giant stick of 20 foot tall to get an idea of scale and walked all around and really started to envision what that art could look like. From that, we met again in May to kind of refine a request for qualifications to publicize that we are looking for artists for this project. In June, that request for qualifications was issued. We had nearly 80 submissions from artists across the country for the entry plaza and the 2 pedestals, which I'll talk about those in a minute. But we had artists from across the country. In fact, we even had artists internationally submit. So there was a lot to choose from. In September, we received the applications, and we, as a committee, had selected the finalists. We came up with 5 finalists, and then in February, those finalists came to Tualatin and sat right here in this room and gave their presentations. So the committee got to sit and learn all about the different types of art that were proposed for this project. They were all very different and all really exciting. And Councilor Brooks is shaking her head because she was there as the council liaison to the Arts Advisory Committee. She got to see how the proverbial sausage is made, and it was actually really great. So we'll go into that. So I talked about the art locations. There are 3 pieces of public art that are going to be installed at the Veterans Plaza. Location A, we're calling the Entry Plaza. That is off of Seneca Street, sort of by the entrance to Lee's, the north side entrance to Lee's Kitchen. And then B1 and B2 are what we refer to as the pedestals. Those are those large planter boxes that you saw that was kind of an empty hole in the ground. Those will be filled in with concrete, and then we'll have lovely art on top. So here's the architectural, designer's renderings. No, the art will not be a glowing orb, but you can see the entry plaza with a piece of art, and then this is one of the pedestals on the bottom where that art will be going. The pedestals themselves have been there. They are getting refaced so that it all fits in with the new design. And here is our service-inspired art selection committee. This was taken the day that we actually had the artist presentations. Again, members of the Arts Advisory Committee, Tualatin Veterans Community, and T-Park. And we had our 5 artists. They were from Oregon, Washington, California, Kentucky, and Maine. So we had artists from across the country come to Tualatin to tell us what they would do with this art commission. And the committee sat through 2 days of presentations and scoring, and I really want to commend them on that. It was a big weekend, and a lot of information, actually a ton of information getting to this point from the committee to evaluate all of those initial submissions to get to where we were. And I am really, really happy to say that with this quite diverse committee of artists and veterans and community members, we came to consensus. And it was unanimous. By the end of those 2 days, it was a unanimous decision. And we selected artist Dow Blumberg. Dow is the son and a father of veterans. He's not a veteran himself, but his entire family has been involved with the veterans community. He's a recipient of the Public Art and Review Award from Americans for the Arts. That was a 2018 award. He has a sculpture that was installed at Ground Zero in New York City. He also has sculptures in places like universities of Wisconsin and Kentucky, and also Aurora, Colorado, to memorialize the Aurora movie theater shooting. So he's worked with some really sensitive subjects and really a lot of community involvement. So I feel really, really excited and really lucky to have an artist of this caliber come to Tualatin. In fact, when I sent out a "thank you so much, but we did not select you" email to one of the artists, she replied back and said, "Oh, could you tell me who the selected artist was?" And I told her that it was Dow Blumberg, and she said, "I am so honored to have been even considered with an artist of this same caliber." So that really helped me feel really also, aside from the overall design and the committee's consensus, that was just another validation of who we're getting. So I'm really excited to show you. This piece is called Flames of Honor. This is the entry plaza piece. It will stand approximately 15.5 feet tall. This is made of stainless steel. The bottom section is a brushed stainless steel. The top section is going to be highly polished because those flames are going to be individually suspended, stained glass, internally illuminated, and then that will be reflected in the highly polished stainless steel. So that is the entry plaza. And then the two pedestals are companion pieces. The one on the left is called Wings of Freedom, and that is a hawk, or a hawk-like shape. And then Wings of Peace, which is a dove. And the thing that I think really highlights the community engagement and the artists' ability to reflect what our community said they wanted. I think this really nails it in terms of we didn't want something super representational or identifying any one particular person or conflict, but instead we wanted to highlight the sacrifices and also the benefits that the veterans have fought so hard for, and so that would be the Wings of Peace. So that's where we are, and later on tonight, on a consent, you get to approve the contract, and we're going to get moving forward. This piece will not be installed at the same time as it will not be installed before Pumpkin Regatta. Unfortunately, we need to have a little bit more time. So we're looking at a final install date and grand opening of the art dedication Memorial Day 2025. So, of course, if there's anything, we can always provide you updates as we go. And I'm really excited to work with this artist, and I'm really excited to see how this all turns out for our community. So thank you so much for your support.
Questions
And
for
thank you to Councilor Brooks for her involvement with this project as well.
Council Brooks?
Thank you for the great presentation. I've been super excited, and we had to really stay tight-lipped about it until we had all the contracts signed on the dotted line, and everything came through beautifully. I want to really acknowledge Julie's work and Ross, and our art chair, Janet, and the whole arts committee and the whole veterans committee. But I think that the RFP process, the way that we worked just doing the application form and putting it out there was such a success with the kind of results of people that responded. And it was a lot of work. It was really mindful, and the expertise of the arts committee, it's really amazing how much that helps contribute to that, to Julie's work, and then also how well she works with our consultant. And then the other thing was just the process of the presentation and how everyone worked together and weighed in their particular perspectives, which were very diverse amongst just the artists themselves and their perspectives, their media, their different ways of looking at things, and then our veteran members and our parks member. Everybody had so much to contribute, and they did it in such a respectful way. Among agreements and disagreements, and really everybody felt safe to say what they really wanted to say, which was a really dynamite experience to be a part of. And then finally, I would encourage everybody to look at his website. It's Dow. Bloomberg.
Dow Blumberg.
Blumberg. So he's a pilot. He's a really super nice guy and really affable, and has worked really well with so many different groups in sensitive situations. So just the process part of it and the working with the city to get it done, I have a lot of confidence not only in the beauty of the structures, but the way that he will work with the city and how put together he is and how competent he is artistically and otherwise. And then, anyway, finally, so that'll be, and finally, if you notice when you drive into the city, you can see the digging up. So there's going to be a beautiful new piece of art when people enter into the city, which is going to be a really wonderful kind of way to kind of start off that Cora conversation. So just for my fellow counselors, I hope that you are as excited as I am. And thanks again, Julie and the whole Parks Department, for such really great work. We're just in really good hands with you guys.
Thank you.
Councilor Sacco?
Thank you. So I was on T Park when this whole conversation started, and I was part of the veterans conversation when I was on T Park, I think it was like the first subcommittee that we created as a city. And so as part of those conversations of what do we want this to look like? What do we want this to feel like? And I just have to say that these art pieces reflect that. And so it's amazing to see those conversations that started 5 years ago, that we stayed true to those ideas and wove them throughout these art pieces. So thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. And from my office, I have a bird's eye view of the construction, and so I can see the progress. It is some of the most exciting piles of dirt I've ever seen. Can't wait to see the finished result. Thank you.
Thank you.
Council President Brooks.
Brooks?
Oh, sorry, Council President Pratt. I was looking at Bridget.
I know, kind of blondish, but. Oh, now I'm gonna forget what I was gonna ask. Well, you know, when we did the interviews with the advisory committee for the arts committee reappointments, they all were so excited about this, and I know Councilor Brooks was, and they were all mum. They wouldn't give up anything, but I see why they're so excited. And I have a question though on that, the flame one, there's some disc like in the middle.
That was
What-
actually originally part of the design, and the committee actually requested to remove those to keep
Oh,
it
okay.
cleaner.
Make it
Those
more
were
smooth.
insignias for each of the military branches, but those will actually already be on basalt columns at
Oh,
the
okay.
plaza. So we
Okay.
decided the committee asked to have those removed.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Sure.
I just want to follow up too on what Councilor Sacco said. Just, we have these things coming up too in the future with the bond work and the parks work where when we have these community conversations, these projects are really community driven. So if anyone's really inspired by this and wants to be part of that conversation, and I hope the Arts Committee continues to advocate for art for future sites and future conversations for our new parks assets, that people really join and encourage people to join in and be part of such an enjoyable and long-lasting projects that we are opening up to the community and really want people to step up for. Thanks.
Thank you.
Anything else? Great, thanks, Julie.
All right, well, I'm going to go wrangle the YAC
All
for the
right,
next
you'll be-
presentation.
you'll be back.
Thank you.
All right, so that brings us to our agenda review and roundtable. We don't have any proclamations, but we do have some announcements. I'll be doing the two announcements, and then any questions or concerns on anything on the consent agenda tonight? I've got Councilor President Pratt doing the Pledge of Allegiance tonight. Given that we only have 5 minutes, let's go ahead and we'll just do our roundtable at the end of a regular session, just so we get a 5-minute bio break before we kick in at 7 o'clock. So with that, I'll go ahead and close this work session. We'll re-adjourn from our regular session at 7 o'clock.